Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Fintech Fridays. I'm still Brian View, President and Chief Operating Officer at FinLocker, and really excited for today's guest, Dan Smokoska. Dan is the founder of Loangendary Marketing. I can finally say it right. Dan, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks. Glad to be here. Been watching this podcast for a while, so I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, no, it's you and I have a pretty cool story in terms of how we got connected. I think we were probably connected on LinkedIn for a while, and probably one of those connections that one of us reached out and the other one blindly accepted. And
Right.
I started to earlier this year, I started to see you show up a ton in my feed, and I just loved what you were talking about. And I think it was right at the time you were kind of transitioning from your role inside of a lender to the founder of this great Loangendary marketing business. And so fast forward to today, obviously we're talking together on a podcast, but you and I are collaborating on a great newsletter together with 15 or 16 other awesome creators. And I think it just speaks to the power of social media, the platform. In this case, I think we started with LinkedIn. But it really, if we take it back a layer, it really speaks to the power of just putting yourself out there. And you and I are both
Yeah.
kind of doing that through our
Right.
messaging on these platforms. So great to finally get to kind of record together and learn more about what you're doing and how you're helping loan officers.
Yeah. Absolutely. The power's there if you tap into it. That's 100% true.
So let's kind of start.
Okay.
Maybe talk about your kind of how Loangendary marketing came to be. And I've seen it already transition a couple different ways, so it's cool to see it grow as quickly as it is.
Yeah. So, really what it was, the end of 2022, there was a wind down for the company that I was in. They sold. It was one of those bittersweet moments, right? Like they ended it. We felt good about the work we did while we were there. Ran an incredible marketing department, and it was just time for that transition to happen, right? I think 2022 and all of the fun that we saw in the market helped encourage that, but it was one of those moments where it was like, hey, no hard feelings, but hey, what do I have next? What's next up? And so, starting in January, I was going to take a month or two off just to kind of reset, and in that, I decided, I thought about it a little bit, and I was like, let's launch a newsletter, right? Let's see what happens, and really that was the very beginning of everything, right? And so the that was the name came through that, Be Loangendary, a play on loan officer, and Be Legendary, and it was really to help set up these free marketing insights that I have been able to, for 10 plus years now, kind of work through and figure out and see what works. And, I just felt like I had maybe knowledge to share to people who would want, be interested. It's funny because when you have the knowledge, you know what you know, but you really don't know what other people don't know. Right.
Right.
So what happened was, it was a nerve wracking deal, right? Like you got to put yourself out there, you just got to go for it. And so I decided to do that, and I did not know what the result was going to be. The result turned out to be, really positive. And the newsletter just grew and grew and grew and continues to grow now. And that really moved into where I'm at this point, and that's being able to kind of take this momentum and say, hey, let me put myself out there again and risk some things and start this agency. And so it's a marketing agency playing on the same word, Loangendary marketing, and it is just 100% focused on the mortgage industry, right? So mortgage related companies, that can be software, a lot of mortgage companies on an enterprise level. But that was sort of the dream and the vision there, and I went in for it. And just like the newsletter, it's been nothing but an incredible response, and it's just kind of a fun ride.
I love it. And really, you know, obviously you have experience and the knowledge and proof points that you can point to, but it was you putting yourself out there that gave you kind of probably gave you some confidence early on, right? And then that just kind of
Absolutely.
snowballed to the next level, right?
Well, yeah, and I've had this sort of repeatable thing happen where it's like I'm nervous to do something, and it's almost now to the point where if I'm nervous to do something, it's almost like a metal detector, searching for treasure. When the warning goes off and I get a little nervous, I'm like, there's something really good on the other side of this. And so,
Yeah,
but before you do that and before you prove that, it's a scary process. And but if you go all in and give it everything you have and put yourself out there, I cannot even begin to tell you the doors that I didn't even know existed open up.
right. Yeah, it all starts with putting yourself out there clearly. I kind of had my own, moment or so about a year ago. And, we're a small technology company with a small team. The team's great. The team cranks on stuff, but we're small. We just don't have a ton of resources. So for us to really build our brand, I kind of made the decision that I'm going to have to go out and just really double down, triple down, quadruple down on what I'm doing on primarily on LinkedIn. And just like you described, that I probably overthought it for the first month. It's got to be perfect, and everything's got to be scripted, and I need all these great graphics. And guess what? That takes time, that takes resources. And I just said I
Yeah,
don't have time or resources. So what I
exactly.
found for me personally was that just go out and do it and stub your toe
Yeah,
a little bit, correct it on the next one, and just, keep iterating and getting better.
yeah,
And that's turned into a lot of great momentum for our business. There's people know FinLocker now primarily because
yeah. Because
I'm
you're
killing
killing
their
it.
fees on LinkedIn.
You're doing it, man. You're doing a great job. It's fun to watch. Honestly, it's a lot of
So
fun.
I think the lesson here is, and we're clearly in this, transitory period in mortgage originations in a bunch of different ways. We're not even going to talk about, the purchase market versus refi market, because there is no refi market really.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
but to me, the bigger transition for loan officers, especially loan officers that are probably closer to my age, that have been doing this for a while, the real gold is in the next generation of home buyers. It's not today's home buyer.
Right.
It's who are you talking to today that's going to be your customer next year and the year after and the year after that. And that's that next generation. It's the older Gen Zs, the younger millennials.
Right.
And I think we all are seeing in real time this explosion on social, where loan officers are really becoming trusted financial experts and educators. And I think what your agency is really geared to do is to help them kind of accelerate and put some polish on the message. And I'm assuming those are a lot of the conversations you're having today.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So it's there's sort of two different directions that my agency helps with. It's like the enterprise level for mortgage companies, right? What's the overall message and marketing plan and strategy, and how can we help them accomplish those goals? Uh, but there's also this other side. It's like, hey, how do we help loan officers sort of take advantage of the tools that are there, right? The changing environment of, social media has been around for a while, but now you have people who grew up with social media, and it's just like,
Yeah.
from day one, with a phone in their hand kind of thing. And so the strategy switches, and the expectations of people on social media change. And so that's a lot of what I work with loan officers, is how to build a social media strategy and take advantage of some of these, I guess, just proven tactics of success. And it really is, there's obvious there's nuance to everything, right? When I post on LinkedIn and I say, hey, consistency matters, or hey, valuable content, um, and these are the results that I've seen, there's more to it than just that. But those are foundational pieces that are really, really valuable for loan officers to know. Their audience is going to look different than my audience. They might have a niche that another loan officer doesn't have, etc. So there's ways to, you got to kind of plan and navigate this thing. But there's some foundational pieces that are just going to be true regardless, and that's, consistency. But not only consistency for the sake of consistency, like, have valuable content with that consistency, right? And it's not that we always know what is valuable to our audience. We just continue to produce content until we find something that really strikes a chord with that audience. And social media is really, really easy to kind of tell what works and what doesn't, because you're going to have just some baseline metrics, right? How many likes did I get? How many shares or comments or engagements? There's a little thing called impressions on there. Not everybody knows what impressions mean. That's just people who saw it. Those eyeballs on your post. And when those things start ticking up, take notice that had some meaning to somebody. And so uh, these clues start putting themselves out there, but you only get to know those, what resonates if you do it and do it and do it and do it. So huge opportunity for loan officers. That's one of the things I love strategizing with them about. And I love seeing it's a longer game, 3 to 4 to 5 months down the road, seeing the success that they get from it, right? Like that is the cool part, when they really get to see some of these leads coming in instead of them having to go out and snag them, right?
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. And you kind of hit on some key themes, and I think consistency can never be understated in the context of what we're talking about here, kind of building your brand, be it a personal brand or an enterprise level brand. Um, and that's probably goes back to pre-social media, right? If you're 10, 15, 20 years ago, if your primary way to market in your community was through the newspaper, you couldn't just
Yep.
drop in an ad on one Sunday morning and then never do it again, right? It's these are things that have always been true, and now on social, I think it's even more true because there's a lot more people now starting to play into that space.
Yeah.
Have you had any kind of like surprises or aha moments so far in with the agency when you're kind of talking to and interviewing folks?
I mean, I don't know about. I mean, everyone is so different when you talk to them. That's kind of the fun part about it, right? When you work with one company, there's a lot of really good things. You're able to kind of laser focus on that one task, that one job. The cool thing about having this business where I get to sit and chat with, multiple companies and multiple loan officers who are in unique situations. And one one company might have a product that the other company doesn't have, and one company might be, small and just trying to get their name out there and try to show up on the map, and then there are other companies that are just massive, and so they have different issues and different challenges. And so everything's just unique, per person, per company. But a lot of what I have seen is kind of the same thing. It's they want to know how to tap into social media. That has been sort of the most sought after piece of advice or strategy, like nail down a strategy, how to do it. And because what you see a lot of times with mortgage companies is, and this is something that I've experienced firsthand, right? Being in multiple, mortgage companies on the corporate level, um, is that a lot of the social media strategy is just, we're going to do a funny holiday post,
Right.
and we're going to do 17 ways to clean your gutters, and then we're gonna send it out and call it a day, right? And check
Yeah.
that box, we did it, right? um and if that is the only experience that someone has had with social media, then they're missing out on everything else. It's like the iceberg analogy, right? You're just getting the very tip of what's possible,
Yeah.
and all the other stuff is below the surface. And the only way you can get in there is to dive in and try it out and experiment and have a strategy. So, but the thing that I've seen most though is that there's a willingness to jump in. They just don't know how, and I get it.
Right.
Whenever you're looking at something and it's like a big mountain to climb, there's 100 different ways to get up to the top, and you're just trying to figure it out. And so that's what I've tried to do, is try to be that source of like, here's how you start. This is how you take your first step, and then we're gonna get a few weeks, few months down the road, and you're gonna turn around and you're gonna be like, wow, look how far I've come.
Yeah.
Still got some road to go, but yeah. So that that's just been a lot of fun being able to see that.
Yeah. I think about, again, I look at the cohort of loan officers in my age range, right? I'm 55, so call it 45 to 60 or something like that. For a lot of folks in that age range, they probably haven't spent a lot of time building a consumer following on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube,
Yeah.
now Threads, right? Um,
Hmm.
how how have you kind of coached some folk? Have you coached people to start that process and just start building your first follower, and then kind of building from there? What does that look like?
Yeah, so that's a great question. There's a couple of things. So it's really first to kind of nail down your audience, like who's your ideal customer, because when you have a consumer, um, if you're trying to engage with them consistently on a platform, maybe Facebook or something, Instagram, I don't know. They're different platforms that kind of serve different purposes, right? Like TikTok, you can get in front of a lot of people. A lot of people can see you, and not, and because so many people are active on TikTok, you're able to, you know, consistently get in front of people who are searching and curious. But if you're on Facebook and you're like friends and connecting with these people, kind of like on a, like, let's connect here, they might be interested in home loans. We're talking about a borrower every, you know 3 to 5 to 7 years, or what it is, so
Right.
that effort there is significantly more challenging. So what my challenge always is like, hey, how can you really nail down your borrower or business partner? And typically what happens is it's the business partner, the real estate agent, who becomes the sort of ideal customer, right? Or your ideal focus, and so that looks different, because a real estate agent is in business to sell a home, and 9 times out of 10, or 99 times out of 100, it's going to be financed, right? And so
Yep.
they're in it daily. And so my thing is, you get an agent. We all know this. Loan officers know this. This is why they focus on agents. It is, they're able to bring more than one person, and they're able to do it somewhat consistently. And so focus on the agent. And if we focus on the agent, then we see kind of our content shifting into some different avenues, right? And so that's kind of how I've done it. But what I've tried to do as well is take note that one of the biggest challenges for people just getting started, for loan officers just getting into the content game, or the social media game, is that they don't have a lot of followers, one, or maybe they do but there's not a lot of engagement, right? Engagement being likes and comments and shares on their post. So the scenario is, you decide, I'm ready. I'm going to go all in and I'm going to commit to social media, and I'm going to create valuable content, and leads are just going to start flowing in. And so you work on your content, you get it all buttoned up, and you say, this is extremely valuable. I'm going to click post. You post it, and then there's a lot of times crickets if you're just starting. There's
Yeah.
nothing going on. You're hoping for that one like, 2 likes, and then you feel kind of like an idiot, right? Because you're like, man, I'm sitting here, I put a lot of work into this, and now I have 1 or 2 likes, and one of them's like my best friend who's just feeling sorry for me right now. And so that's a scenario that plays out. And I'll tell you, when that happens enough times, it just very discouraging and people stop. All right. But the thing to remember is every single successful creator or social media influencer, whatever you call them, they all started that way. And that's an
Right.
important thing to note. You're seeing people months or years down the road, and you should not expect to be where they are right now. But if you commit to it for 3 to 4 months, you're going to start seeing a lot of growth there. And one of the things that I've done with Loangendary and Loangendary marketing is to, and this is this is not a plug, so there's no links or anything here. But what we've done is created a 30-day social media cohort, and that is what it is. It's just loan officers who want to take 30 days and get all of their questions answered, and a group that is supporting each other, right? In social
Love
media.
it.
So instead of working hard to create a really valuable post and then pressing post and getting crickets, you're going to have a cohort of 25 loan officers who are committed to engaging with your post. So instead of 1 person or 2 people, you're going to have 25 people commenting, liking, engaging, and not to trick the system, but to just help that trust be built and help to keep kind of that consistency rolling. So when everybody's helping everybody, it makes a huge difference on social media.
Yeah, I think the other intrinsic. Oh, sorry. I was going to say the other value of that is the feedback loop, right? It's like instant feedback that you're getting from your cohort on the content you created. I'm imagining and guessing that you're starting to see that kind of gel with this group.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's pretty cool, because what happens is 30 days down the road, right? You now have friends, people you might not have ever known, who are doing this together, and after the 30 days ends, people are still commenting and engaging with each other. So it's just it's just a really great opportunity. The feedback loop is there, the connections and the relationship building. And then from a perspective of somebody who is not in this cohort, right? Somebody who is maybe trying to figure out who you are, and should I partner with this person? Then they go on to LinkedIn or wherever, and they see all this valuable content that you're posting consistently, and they see comments and likes and engagements. This must be a person that is knows their stuff and is good to work with. So it helps in a number of different fronts.
I love it. Well, Dan, this has been awesome. It's great to kind of formally get together and be able to, kind of share your story. I love everything you're doing. The newsletter every Friday, I find a piece of gold in there every week. It's been cool to watch that thing grow. Your contributions in the FinTalk weekly newsletter are awesome. Every one of those is like extremely actionable for the reader. And the agency, congratulations on getting the agency up. I've heard some great feedback from some folks that are already engaged with you. So if you're watching today and you're trying to figure out what is my next step, how do I get into the social media space? Maybe you're with a company that's severely, cut costs, including marketing resources. Dan and the Loangendary marketing platform is an awesome resource to kind of partner up with. Love everything you're doing, man. Congratulations. Keep winning out there.
Back at you, buddy. Appreciate it.
So everybody, thank you for coming on this week's episode. Follow Dan. You're going to learn. And then be sure to check back next week for our next episode of Fintech Fridays. Thanks, everybody. Awesome. There was a